So art was something that at a young age I wanted to do. In New York, they have schools that specialize in high schools that specialize in different aspects of what young women and men like to do. And there was a school. I don't know if y'all are probably too young to remember the TV show Fame. No, okay. It was a TV program about youngsters who went to a performing arts school. Well, there's actually a performing arts school in New York, but there's also a visual arts school also. And I went to the visual arts school, and we went half day for arts and half day for academics. And I wanted to be an illustrator. And then in probably my junior year, I decided I wanted to be a photographer and majored in photography. And I quit school. And this may get into the things that we want to ultimately talk about. I'm 73 years old, so in 1955, I was in high school. And during the summer, in the last 2 years, they sent you to jobs in the fields, whatever profession you want to be in. They sent you to be interviewed for jobs working in those fields. And two of us, two black kids, went to an agency to see about getting jobs as photographers. Well, I didn't get the job, but the other guy was a great photographer. I was, just something I wanted to do, but he was great. And when I was growing up, my mom, she wouldn't discourage me about being an artist, but she would say that for a black person, it's very difficult to get jobs. And she named this one guy that was making money as an artist, someone I had never heard of. And I was an adult before I realized who he was. And that brought it home to me. Not that I didn't get the job, but this guy who I thought was an outstanding photographer and went on to be a world-renowned photographer didn't get the job. And it brought back all of those things my mom said about race and prejudice, discrimination. So I began to I was disenchanted with school because I thought that I wasn't going to be able to make this happen. And in 1956, I was in my last year. February 5th is my birthday. I think February 5th was on a Sunday. I think that Thursday I quit school, and that Tuesday I was in the Air Force. So I left school to join the Air Force. My parents had let me know that I wasn't going to be able to just sit around doing nothing. They didn't agree with my quitting school, but I was beginning to get in trouble and just disenchanted with just life. And I thought, well, I could join the Air Force. I can stay 20 years. I can get out, and I can be whatever I want to be. I can work for. I don't have to depend on anybody. So that's what I did. I stayed in the Air Force for 20 years, traveled extensively, a great experience. And when I retired in 1976, I got a job as a photographer working for the Portland Observer. And then went on to do freelance work, to travel as a photographer. I wasn't too involved in the political aspects or community activism at the time. Doing the photography was the thing I wanted to do. And at the Observer, it gave me an opportunity to get to know the community and people in the community, but more than that, get to know people in the city.
Right.
And as I was doing that, I became involved in the issues. And early on, one of the issues that the community was concerned about was education, and how poor black kids were faring in the education system, and the forced busing, the moving schools out of the community. And Tubman was a school that we got active around, and just increasing the attempts to get black and poor kids. It wasn't only blacks. Poor kids and other minorities were not faring well. And one of the things, I got involved with the Black United Front. And we formed a Saturday school that had sites around the city that we helped youngsters with whatever grade level they were. Wherever they were having problems, we tried to help them get over those bumps. And the great thing about it, I ran a center out in Columbia Villa, and we started like 8 o'clock in the morning, I think. And when I got there were little kids waiting at the door. That's how enthusiastic these kids were about learning. And for whatever reason, that enthusiasm wasn't being fostered or being supported in the schools that they went to. Right. We had kids that would come, they would have their shoes on the wrong feet, they would have different color socks on. You know that they got up themselves and dressed themselves and found their way to the center. So that was very inspirational for me. And worked on education issues for a while, and then got involved in anti-apartheid in South Africa, and the Central America issue around the Contra and Nicaragua. Went to Nicaragua for about a month. Photographed down there, got to just see what it was like. You know, went to Honduras, went to Panama, and just got involved in issues. And one of the things about the Black United Front was that, especially as we began to get older as members of the group, people had specialties. People had, not special, but things that they liked more than others. Right. And I kind of gravitated towards the livability issues because the gangs were becoming prominent. The crime was on the rise, along with kids not being educated. And I got involved in the issues around police accountability and just getting the neighborhoods to have a voice in what happens in their community, in their neighborhoods. And we formed a meeting. We met every week, every Thursday, and we did that for like 16 years, you know, in an effort to give people who felt that nobody was paying any attention to them an opportunity to work on correcting their own problems. And I think we did a stellar job of that. We empowered people to advocate for themselves. We showed them how to make the system work for them. And I think at that time, probably Northeast Portland had a segment of the community that was as familiar with anyone in the city about how the system works to change community and livability issues. So, and to this day, I'm still working on police issues. I'm on the board of directors of the agency that trains police in Salem, and I go down there twice a week and sit in on the classes. And they've given me they've allowed me to interrupt the classes if I hear something, if I have something to add to the conversation, to just pipe up, and that's just been great. So.
Now, when back when you were retired,
okay,
and you said you got into education and stuff
yeah,
like that.
Okay.
What was there a thing or a moment or a person that inspired you to go out and get involved in that?
You know, I've always been involved. My mom was involved when I was growing up. My dad worked. My mom was involved in the school. She was involved in a lot of things that went on in the church. So I think that she was probably my biggest motivation. But I think that when I'm asked that question, I realized that there were a lot of people that were involved, that it was almost not an option to be involved. It was something that if you lived in the community, if you went to a school, if you were involved in the church, being involved with something that was like a rites of passage,
Right.
you know. And when I was in the service, I was involved in things around racial issues quite a bit. You know, there's always been somebody out there. For me, Ron Herndon was a big motivator for me, encouragement, and the Black United Front, because I wasn't in the Black United Front when it started. But as I got involved, you know, I did less photography and more activism.
Mm-hmm.
So I got involved with the Black United Front, and it was. I just think, growing up, that activism was not an option.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that was the way you accounted for your time on this earth.
Right.
By activism. You know, you just don't come here and you get to kick it.
Make a difference.
You know,
Right.
you have to try to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've done all these things, and it has to be for a goal. So, what is your vision? If everything you accomplish, what is your vision for your future?
For my future,
Yeah.
just see when I retired, my intention was to do nothing.
Right.
You know, I used to tell youngsters when I was in the service, you know, anytime you had over 10 years in the service, you were a lifer, and that was kind of negative. And I would always tell them that, you know, one of the things that I'm going to do is wherever I live, I'm going to live in a city.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not an urban, rural type person. I'm going to build a porch just about, you know, that wide, the railing that goes around about that wide,
Right.
so I could put my foot on it, my legs on it, you know, just cross my legs and sit on my porch. And every month, I'll leave my chair, go down to my mailbox once a month, and pick up my retirement check and go back to my rocking chair on my bench. You know, so that was my plan.
Right.
That was my plan. I'm an advocate for not working all your life.
Right.
You know, I think that there's more to life than going to work every day. And I think that we buy into this notion that working is what you have to do. Well, I didn't want to work for anyone because I didn't want anybody to be in a position to fire me, to tell me what I can or can't say, or what I can or can't do. So I've stuck to that. I don't work. My volunteerism. A lot of people get paid to do what I do.
Right.
You know, on the board of directors at the agency, DPSST, Agency of Trains Police, I'm the only citizen member on the board. Everybody else is in some form of law enforcement or public safety. You know, so they get paid to do what they do. As a result, I don't have anyone saying, "Well, Richard, you shouldn't say that. You're not representing this. You're not representing that." I don't represent anybody, and I treasure that. That means more to me than anything in the world. The freedom to say what it is I want to say, you know, and how I want to say it, and not feel that I have to bite my tongue because somebody's going to not like it, and I'll lose that platform. So I encourage people to prepare to retire. You know, that's what I did. I knew that at the end of 20 years, there would be X number of dollars coming in. So you have to save. You have to prepare. You have to start saving money. You adopt lifestyles that will allow you to live on what you have, you know. Let me digress. When I got out, I was afraid not to work because I was afraid to do nothing because when I was in the service, I had a job to do. And there were goals and there were things that had to be accomplished. So when I got out, I worked for the Department of Agriculture as a soil conservation technician. Working with farmers. Now, I'm from New York City, right? So I'm advising farmers on how they should manage their land. when I called my dad and told him I had a job at the with the Department of Agriculture, he wanted to know what I thought I could tell a farmer